Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chief Architect Forum News. CAF News today brought to you by DeepSeek.
Well, not really, but
Oh, they're not sponsoring us yet?
not yet. No, we're waiting for the check, Kevin. They said it's in the mail.
Okay, because NVIDIA pulled out.
NVIDIA pulled out last minute.
They can't write the check.
Wait, I'm looking here. Oh, I guess we're gonna have to do an honest DeepSeek NVIDIA appraisal. There's no checks here today.
Okay, well then we'll be a independent, third party, no commercial influence.
So Kevin, this is really exciting. The three main stories today, as you pointed out earlier, are DeepSeek, and DeepSeek. I think almost getting sick of DeepSeek. Very suspicious with the timing of the announcement, right on the heels of the $500 billion Stargate project in the U.S. And I think there's some real good questions. The market reaction was very intense to this.
Yeah.
And there's some really powerful claims that they're making. And I think, is this a new era in AI? Is this an overreaction? Or is it something different? What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, and the reaction, of course, was something to behold. We went down about one Stargate. We dropped about $500 billion.
Yeah.
Coincidentally. It's interesting. What have I told you? China just introduced, a strong challenger to OpenAI, and what if it's not just about AI, but geopolitics and chip wars and the future of intelligence itself? It's interesting. The timing, as you mentioned, is interesting to say the least. And then as more details come out, it starts to make you wonder if everything they're claiming is true. And
it certainly starts out like a really good narrative that this, little company in China working, as the underdog on a shoestring budget of just, I think, what was it? Millions of dollars, literally.
Yeah. 5 million.
Yeah.
Training costs. Yeah.
That they trained this and that they somehow, redid the whole large language model idea, right? I mean, that's what's been put on the table. I think the first thing that's happening is I think critics have rightly pointed out that maybe it's not as innovative as we think. And so I'm going to start with that position that, yeah, and the other thing, I think the other distinction I want to make in all of this is that there's a difference between hardware and software in bringing these things out. So you talk about a data center, it has two components. And guess what? They still used NVIDIA chips to do a lot of what they did. And so they're just claiming they use them more efficiently. So my first thought is the claim that people are going to now settle for less power even a valid one? Or are they going to, even if you had a better way of doing it, are you going to push the envelope is the first thought. Second thought, is it really innovative? So when we look at the model, there's, I think, a few points to be raised. What did they do differently? Well, from what I understand, they did things like reduce the precision during some of the training is one key thing that they did. A second key thing that they did is they used an expert system to activate and deactivate portions of their knowledge model as they need it. So it says, oh, this is kind of what you're looking at. Let's focus on that area. And I think that's really good. However, with that, we've seen sort of people that are actually using it have also seen sort of inconsistent results, at that high level. So I think there's a lot of questions out there. Even Sam Altman, he says, yeah, they did some stuff. And the third thing is this OpenAI thing. It's on the open, like what they did isn't a secret. It's an open platform. And how long is it really going to take, companies like Amazon or NVIDIA to incorporate any advances there? I don't think it's going to take very long. Let's start out. What do you think? Do you think this is it real, Kevin? Like, do you think it's really going to change, or do you think the market's going to bounce back? I mean, you have an interesting background there, so.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the market will bounce back. if all the claims are true and, foundational models have become faster, easier, cheaper, I really just have a feeling that that is only going to mean that there's going to be more use of them. You build more highways, more traffic comes. So I don't think that NVIDIA actually has anything to fear. I'm a net buyer. The question, I read some of the things that you read also, obviously, about just parameter optimization and turning on and off, and nothing against that, but that's evolution, not revolution.
Yes.
They certainly had to be scrappy. They had the cheaper chips and fewer of them and less money, so they had to invent, and that's great. I think that's fine. The interesting piece that I don't hear a lot of people pointing to, if this is a win, a clear win, there's also some wins whispering that maybe some of it was, I think someone called it knowledge distillation from OpenAI, which sounds like a nice way to say
That sounds
stealing.
like sort of industrial espionage, a little bit of intellectual property theft, right? And there's certainly some talk of that that's come up. That's a great point, that maybe they've used some of the training that was done by OpenAI and harvested it. Well, that's a huge difference. And there's even a question that's out, are they reporting this accurately? So there's restrictions on NVIDIA chips right now in China. I think they're saying they use something like 10,000 NVIDIA chips or something. And in the meantime, I think they're the H1 series.
Right.
And I think in the meantime, what's coming out is that, well, actually, there may be a lot more chips involved that were purchased under the table in addition to this. And so we may not be getting an accurate view of things in light of, I think, what's going to be the start. Now, I don't know what you think of this, a start for world dominance in AI, very much like the moon race. I think this is a very questionable thing that certainly caused a lot of volatility in the markets.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think, you can look at this, it could be drawn up as a US-China AI battle, and it's not just, as you say, about algorithms, software, it's about chips. And yeah, their ability to compete. Sure, they were efficient and innovative, but can they keep innovating and keep developing viable alternatives? I don't know. The aspect that I found kind of interesting that isn't getting as much play is that you could look at this as open source versus closed source.
Yes.
All of the major developers, I mean, Google's Gemini, Anthropic, OpenAI, very much closed. Meta, to Mark Zuckerberg's credit, is it open?
Yes.
Llama is an open source model, and this also is an open source model. So it kind of begs the question a little bit whether the closed source models can and will win in the end, or if things will move toward more of an open source, which I think net would be good. It was certainly a fantastic thing for the software industry. Eric Raymond doesn't get enough credit, but we've gone from the cathedral to the bazaar, and I think that may be happening in AI as well.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think there's a real question that needs to be answered. What really happened with DeepSeek? What did they really do? Well, they're not in the enterprise. There's still some huge security concerns about American companies. I don't think the CIA is going to rush out and adopt it for their own systems. Especially, I believe there's a government system that's been pushed out right now from OpenAI that's unique to them with security stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I just don't see DeepSeek. I see them as a sponge for all sorts of knowledge that they're bringing in and sharing probably with the Chinese Communist Party, which I don't think impresses the United States necessarily, right? So we're probably not going to see that broader adoption. I think, to your point, you're bang on. What we are going to see is new methods coming in to bolster what large language models can do, and hybrid models coming out. I think that's going to be the big development from this whole thing. And I don't see anything that points to less powerful chips being produced. And I would just cite history on that. Have we ever seen an instance when somebody said, no, we're going back to the old, VIC-20s and Commodore PETs because everything's just too powerful and we can do it all with those computers. I've just never seen anything like that. People tend to use the power that's available, even if it's to reduce response times and get better performance.
Yeah, sure, right. Yeah, I mean, OpenAI building a walled garden and DeepSeek starting to throw open the gates. Who benefits most? Likely the users. It was cheaper to develop and train. It's apparently also cheaper to run. Inference is cheaper,
Yes.
and I've tried it. I've done a couple comparisons between different models. Claude and OpenAI 4.0 and DeepSeek's 1.3. It's fine. So yeah, if it's cheaper and easier to develop, then it will certainly serve a niche.
Have you seen any difference in the quality of answer from DeepSeek versus ChatGPT?
I have seen differences, but it's almost a matter of taste, whether you prefer one or the other. I think you tend to get, I put 3 or 4 prompts through both, through OpenAI and through DeepSeek, and only one comparison over to Claude. But I would say that OpenAI is a little bit more verbose. The prose feels better, whereas maybe DeepSeek is a little bit more bullet pointy. But on the other hand, it also followed up with some thoughts. Think about this after. Not exactly reasoning, but certainly something that ChatGPT did not give me. So yeah, I would say that it is certainly a very viable alternative for many uses today. So if it's easier and cheaper, then yeah, it's going to fill a niche.
So where is this all going? Let me start off with my thoughts as to what's going to happen recovering from this. I think first of all, with security concerns being in the spotlight, I don't think this is. I'm also seeing this more as a tuning, not an innovation, like you said. It's not a radical shift. It's a evolutionary, not revolutionary. It's evolutionary, right? And I would buy that. I don't see anything here which is to the level of we've got a new technology like a large language model. I see that we've something more like we've learned how to tune them better. Is kind of what I'm getting out of this. So starting with NVIDIA and the market, I don't see how this would impact NVIDIA at all. I don't think their moat is a proprietary OpenAI ChatGPT model. I think their moat is actually their chips that they offer, that they're able to do things with any large language model, including DeepSeek. The fact that DeepSeek used NVIDIA to me is a real plus. They didn't have to go to another chipset. And I think their real moat is the chipset and the development environment. So the first thought is NVIDIA recovery, probably sell more chips than ever at the end of the day. All this is going to do is bring out more use cases into this cost-effective range. Now, the second point is, what are those use cases? Well, they're going to be pretty limited. Even though DeepSeek is sort of the number one consumer app at the moment, I don't see it hitting the enterprise. I don't think people have what it takes. And I think since it's all in the open anyways, I think the big question is how long till Meta, how long till NVIDIA, and how long till OpenAI and these companies adopt these changes and start looking at hybrid options, especially with their well-funded $500 billion Stargate project. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I think that's probably true. Some people are saying, well, DeepSeek is an important new entrant and the AI landscape is fragmenting. I don't know that it is. I think the foundational model players were in an arms race, still are in an arms race to, always be beating all of the, multiplying benchmarks that are out there. And they will, but that, of course, is the Formula One. That's not the car I get into. There will be room for a couple different levels and layers of these. And of course, yes, I feel certain, especially since it's open source, that people will look at what they were doing and adopt and push out models that, are cheaper to train and cheaper to run for general use. Yeah, I mean, OpenAI is already doing it. I pay the $20 a month. You can pay $200 if you'd like. You can pay $2,000 now a month. That new operator,
That's like awesome. That's like for all those people with cash surpluses. But again, I think when you're looking at $2,000 a month, who would buy that? You're moving to the enterprise, I think, right?
Oh, or beyond. Yeah, sure. I mean, that's, advanced research usage, I think.
Yeah.
So,
So
I
here's
think there
the
will be
final
room
thought
for
on
that.
this. Final
Yeah.
thought, and get your take. Recovery. When do we see the markets recover? Is it weeks, months, or quarters away? I don't think it's going to be more than a quarter. So my guess is in about 20 days, NVIDIA does its report, and we're going to see a jump back to health. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Oh, yeah. If you mean the stock market and the stocks affected, yeah. I mean, that, well, it's a $500 billion rebound, I guess, but it would not surprise me to see the lows that were made on Monday retested this week or next, and then a move back up to retest the highs. I don't think this changes the picture materially for NVIDIA at all, to be honest. I think, DeepSeek is actually the one who's a little bit in trouble here. They're going to need a second act, and they're trying to build a Ferrari without the right engine parts.
Well,
can they
and even
keep
worse,
innovating? I don't know.
their moat is open to everybody. They took their moat and they made it openly available.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're able. I don't think they did anything innovative. I think it's all tuning, right? And it was, how do we make this work better? Okay, great, you got it going. And also with restrictions on chips, I mean, it'll be very interesting. Also, an interesting note with DeepSeek that day, they were also targets of hackers that were causing performance issues.
Yeah.
And so lots of questions with security. Well, stay tuned. I think next time we'll probably have some more interesting insights. Hopefully you can join us, like our audience. And please check this out, and we'll be following up with more. Love to hear the audience comments on this, where you think this is going. Is this a big deal? Or is this a tempest in a teapot?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's next, both in the industry, in the geopolitical chessboard. Does DeepSeek close the open source? Does NVIDIA keep selling, or do the restrictions get broader so that even less powerful chips, are under restriction for export? That could certainly happen. There could be a number of moves that come out of this.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Till next week. Cheers.
Sounds good. See ya.